The name you know and trust.
Okay, we are back out here at the Owls Nest Barbecue in Ooltewah with Steve Ray. He showed us how to put some things on the grill, the smoker that you might not think of, meatloaf and macaroni and cheese.
How was that meatloaf?
It was so good.
Guys, how was the meatloaf, guys?
Okay,
pretty good.
So
Okay, all right.
In full disclosure, right, we record these things early. So the sun's bearing down. It's about 9:30 or so in the morning when you and I are talking. And we were all just laughing, Doug, Bill, you and I, about when's the last time we had a piece of meatloaf for breakfast. But that's what we did.
When's the last time you had a piece of good meatloaf?
Right.
Period.
Can I hear an amen?
Yeah.
So, but right now we're going to be talking about the traditional things to put on the smoker, and that is your brisket, your pork butt, but you're going to show us the right way to prep it.
Yeah, when we think of barbecue, we think of, barbecue is not a flavor. Barbecue is actually a method, Julie. It's a low and slow, lower temperatures on a piece of meat that's not really that wanted of a piece of meat, and you cook it slow to make it good.
To get it tender.
Exactly.
So does that mean, Steve, that if you are somebody who thinks, well, I'd love to do a brisket, but it's not in my budget, if you know how to prep it the right way, can you take a moderate piece of meat and make it into an excellent one?
Oh, it's in your budget. When you do a brisket right, it's in everybody's budget.
Okay.
Because they are expensive. This one I got, I think it was around $45.
But that's a lot of people that's going to feed.
It does. Now I trim a lot of the fat off of them because the way I cook, I cook what they call hot and fast and barbecue, which is about 8 to 9 hours or something like this.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into that because that's a whole different thing. But this piece of meat is very economical because my goodness, you could feed 10 people off of this.
Okay, that is economical.
Yeah. Now, real quick, let me just tell you about a brisket. A brisket comes from the chest of a cow, and it's got two parts. It's got two muscles in it. It's got this muscle here, and that's called the flat. And then you can see that big wedge of fat right there, and that separates the flat from the thick part, which is called the point.
Okay.
And the point has a lot of fat in it. The flat has some fat, but not so much.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people will separate them. I like to cook them. Together, Julie.
So when you cook one together, and then when your smoking process is over, your 8 or 9 hours have gone by, do you like to slice the brisket? Do you like to pull it and make it a sandwich?
I like to slice it. I like to slice it.
So would you slice it differently on the point versus the flat?
Yes, you would. That's a great question. Matter of fact, you beat me to it. Did you read the script?
No. I just ask questions for a living, Steve.
What you will do is you will come and you'll find the grain on this brisket. And I always cook mine fat side up. But you see how the grain's running that way?
Yeah.
You always want to cut against the grain. So when I would serve it to my friends, I would start here and I would slice that way on the flat.
Oh, okay. Against the grain.
Against the grain. Until I got to this. Because you see what happens? That grain goes that way.
So now you're going to turn it the other way.
Exactly. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and I'm going to come across it.
Okay.
And now this is what's neat about a brisket. This part down is really good. This part up is to die for.
Okay, I was going to say, so in fairness, does everybody get a little bit of both?
Yeah, you'd want to get it. Matter of fact, you'll have to smack their hands so they don't try to get this part first.
Okay.
Anybody that's ever had brisket knows they get the big fat part.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
They call that the point. And that is the most flavorful because it's got the most fat in it.
Okay, let's talk about flavor. You've got, obviously this has been seasoned with something. Is it a rub or is that just salt and pepper?
That is a salt, pepper, and garlic rub.
Okay.
I always prepare my meat the night before.
Salt is really important though to put on the meat because it tenderizes it, right?
That's the only thing that will penetrate meat. Pepper and garlic sit on the top. It's just flavor.
Okay.
Salt will actually penetrate a little bit, Julie, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Okay. But it gives the outside a flavor. And in a pork, in this part of the brisket rather, you can get flavor by just putting it on the outside.
Sure, because you're going to let it sit for a while.
Exactly right. But to get more flavor into this point, and you would think, well, I've had a brisket without anybody doing anything, and it's delicious. If you really want to amp it up, I'll show you how to do that.
All right.
All right.
Is this the injectable section of the conversation?
This is where we're going to inject it.
Okay.
Now, this is the fat side. And if you notice when I trimmed it, I take all the fat off of the point when I cook. and I leave some on the flat.
Okay.
And everybody got different ways. But I
Yeah.
always tell everybody all sorts of ways to get to Chicago.
Right.
Okay. So if you like your way, do it your way.
But that makes sense to me because this is the part that needs a little bit of an oomph
Yeah.
and a little bit of help. And
I've
the
got
fat's
two
gonna give it
injections here.
that.
I've got a pork injection and a brisket injection.
Okay.
And here's the brisket injection. And this is the easiest thing in the world. You start down there, and you just inject it. You pull it up as you're putting it in. You see it'll come out.
Yeah.
It'll go in there. It'll come out.
Is that like Chick-fil-A sauce? You can't tell us what's in it?
No, this is David Bosco's butcher injection that I sell here at the store.
Okay.
It comes in a bottle. You can mix it with lots of stuff. I've got this one mixed with beef broth, and so we're going to get it really a real super beefy taste.
Okay.
And you just kind of like want to build a grid.
And you sell those the needles and things here too, don't you, Steve?
These little cheap injectors are only $4 a piece.
But you have it's a one-stop shop for the most part.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And up here at the point is really when you want to really get it down to different levels.
Okay.
And you really want to just dig in there. And you see how I'm working it?
Yeah.
I bring it back up while I'm injecting it, and that kind of gets it all through there.
All right.
And Julie, you do that, and you leave that little bit of injection. You can rub it on there a little bit, and then you take that brisket, just like so. My assistant Julie will
Open sesame.
all the way, and we'll put it right there.
Okay.
We'll put the fat side towards the exit,
Okay.
and then we would cook that I would cook that at 285 degrees for approximately 8 to 9 hours is how long it would take.
All right. Now, should I close this while we do the butt?
Close it down, absolutely.
Okay.
You see how much room's on the grill?
Yeah.
There's plenty of room to do what you need to do.
Right.
There's plenty of room.
Okay, so now you've got your pork butt. It looks like you've got the same kind of seasoning on there.
I do. I used the same thing except I left out the garlic.
Okay.
Just salt and pepper. Now, and the reason I do that is a lot of people fret over what rub they're going to put on the outside. Only thing the outside rub does is just flavors the crust that it builds up. It does nothing to the inside. And there again, let's go to the Butcher Barbecue pork butt injection.
Okay.
You've got to do the same thing. You know what's neat about a pork butt, Julie? If you could look in there, you can see the different muscles. You can see these little tubes. This is the loin end. This is the end that's, the pork butt, it comes from the front of the animal. It's the shoulder, it's our upper shoulder. And that's the part that hooks onto the tenderloin.
Okay.
The loin of the pig,
So
which
a lot
is
of strength
the high
there.
off the hog. Remember,
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you're eating high off the
yeah.
hog, you're eating the loin. That's the
Okay.
best part. And you can always turn it over, and you can see the different muscles that make up a pork butt. A pork butt is a very complex piece of meat. There's tubes in them right here. Those tubes are really good. Back here, right under this fat cap is just a thin layer of meat. And have you ever been eating a pulled pork sandwich and you bit into it and it's good, you're chewing it, and then you hit that like, oh my God, what was that? It's like for just an instance, there's a piece in there you taste that it kind of just explodes in your mouth.
It was even better than the
Yeah,
one
that's even better than the
before?
other. That's that part.
Okay.
It tastes like pork belly.
Okay.
And it's not much to it, but that is the best meat of the pork butt.
Okay.
And then what you want to do, you've got your bone down here, and you do the same thing like we did on the brisket.
All right.
You start up here,
And just go all the way through.
and you just go all the way
Now,
through.
since you have this nice, huge smoker here, would you also be smoking this one for 8 or 9 hours?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
just right next to them.
So they can just be companions for the night.
Now, what I do, instead of going to the top lots of times, I turn the whole pork butt over on the
On
side.
the side, and that way.
And make sure I get all these little muscles and these tubes.
Yeah.
Give them a lot more flavor.
That
and
makes
you can
sense.
see, some people might say, I don't want to fool with that. It's easy.
Okay.
It only takes a second.
So there's some confidence that you get when you begin to master the grill, right? Or the
Oh,
smoker in
absolutely.
your case. So I said it the other day when we were out here that you began with a grill or two, and
the worst thing you could buy, I tried.
right, but you learn what worked for you, and then bit by bit you grew.
You see this thing? I threw 3 of those away. They were terrible.
Okay.
I mean, I was terrible at it.
So, for people who think, Steve, I'd like to be you one day, but I'm not there yet, help me through it, my friend. They can come out here. They could start with the supplies that you have. You can talk about what they might have at their house for a grill. Then they can find out what works for them, what doesn't. Then they can come in and add on. Correct?
I keep a little recipe pamphlet that I'm glad to give out to people that I wrote. Simple recipes for chicken, pork butt, ribs, and brisket.
Okay.
Each one's about 2 pages. I explain to them that this is the method that I use. It works for me, and if you do it, if you follow it along, it'll work for you. I
don't think that in Steve's vocabulary really is the phrase "I can't." I think you might say you can't do that, but you can do this.
Well, the difference is, Julie, when you learn how to do this, you know, at first when I used to put barbecue out for my friends, I'd go, taste that.
Right.
You know, just turn your head. Now it's a confidence level. Here
Right.
it is. And you know it's going to be good.
Well, the meatloaf we're talking about, if you didn't see the episode that we did out here with the meatloaf on the smoker, all three of us, Doug, Bill, and I, kind of bit into it thinking, okay, we'll be complimentary and say it's good. And then before you know it, we were having to resist saying, can I have another piece? It was very, very good.
There's different ways, and I'm not a cook. Don't think I'm a chef or a cook. I am not. But the more that I've gone to several barbecue schools, I've talked to these guys that do this, and I've just learned about flavors. And that's to me, that's what's more important than anything, is matching the right flavor to the right meat and using the right method to get to tenderness.
Okay, so summer is here. Memorial Day weekend is here. You have no excuse to not be outside on your back porch or in your backyard grilling. The best way to jumpstart the fun is heading over here to Steve's place. It's Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. The other component of it is the Owls Nest Barbecue. Pay him a visit, just leisurely browse, and let him educate you on how to make killer foods for your family, your neighbors.
We'd love to see you.
Good to see you, my
We'd
friend.
love to see you.